any other esteemed panel guests that you probably met over the course of this weekend. Because we're being recorded, why don't we do a quick introduction of the panel?
Sure. You want to start on that end?
I'm Andrea. Go ahead. I can make it easy.
I'm Ariel Burgess. I'm one of the official artists for the little time here, and illustrator, professional illustrator, and that is my Patreon.
I am Stephanie Law. I am a watercolor artist, painter, and illustrator, and that's my page.
Stephanie Law is creating more ideas and possibilities. All right, I'm Angela Sasser. I'm a mixed media painter. I do digital and watercolor and all sorts of things. And right now, I'm using Patreon to help fund an art book that I'm producing that is the culmination of a Birthstone series I've been working on for the past 3 years. And I use Patreon to share tutorials about my methods and other information. And the people who support help me fulfill these dreams of publication that I couldn't do on my own.
I guess I could say what my Patreon is also about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mine is mostly tutorials and sort of behind the scenes looks at what I do, so all my sketches and my process and my inspiration and all these other little tidbits and things. So I have fun doing that. Videos were my main focus when I started doing the Patreon, and videos are really intensive to make. They take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort, and they take specialized equipment. So I've had people asking me to create videos for years, and Patreon was kind of the way to make that happen so that I can release this material to my more general public as well. Patreon is kind of what supports it. It makes it occur.
My Patreon is just mostly my art. It's a lot more my original art. So I pretty much set most of my stuff at things that I want to do anyway. I have not done a video yet, and that is one of the reasons, is that it takes a lot of time and it's intensive. And we're working on that. One of the reasons I'm looking into. Yeah, it's just mostly my stuff. I took off how much I make because I noticed a lot of people doing that and thought, okay, one, I get a lot of people who go, I have to pay you this much a month, that's ridiculous. And I go, no, it says $1 or more. And then they go, oh, okay. I don't know if that's a lot too. I'm like, okay, well, that's your decision. So I took mine off. It's about $530 a month. And so we're actually a nice scale, like right now. And it changes. It goes up and down, and that's one of the things that can be scary about Patreon. I'm starting to learn to not pay attention to the numbers right now.
It's easy to get caught up in it,
It's hard.
so it's best just not to pay
I
attention.
lost a patron today.
Yes.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Why does the world hate me?
Yeah, and I had it a lot higher, and part of that was because I was doing private tutoring, and that's my top tier, and that's $150 a month. And I had one person, and they had to leave for financial reasons, and that was a huge drop. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna cry all day. You know?
They were at that high tier.
Yeah, the highest tier. Yeah. But it's so you learn not to pay attention to that kind of stuff. It's important because it's your finances, it's your job. But
I was going to say, before we get too far in, does everyone know how Patreon functions, or are they here because they're curious about it, or needs a primer about what it is? Okay, everybody. Oh, yeah, sure.
So I guess that kind of goes into my first question. One, everyone has a website, especially with the art of this day and age. Like having a website and that online presence is really important. But why are you using Patreon, and how does it work for you, and what is it to you, and why? Because you started.
I'll talk about it.
Oh, I guess I'll start. For me, I just love the idea that it's almost like that old school patronage system with the Medici's, where you had very rich people who would come and be like, you artists, I like your work, so I would give you money. So I like that that's
You mean that's not what it is?
But it's a little different in that because anyone can be a patron without having to be from a rich Medici family. They can just like throw in $1 or $5, and it's more accessible to everyone. So my fans who are a little more closer to my income level can actually help me. We can help each other. So I did it in addition to a website because I liked the potential for an extra income. Because otherwise, part-time jobs, that kind of thing. So
it's stable too.
Yeah,
it's not stable because it goes up and down, but it is something that happens every month.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're an illustrator, you do a lot of contract work, and it's like if that's the only contract work you had that month, that's your money for the month, and you have to spread that out and be able to work on it. But then Patreon, it gives you the ability to be like, yeah, I don't have to take a commission this month, and I'm very busy, and that's going to be okay because I have a backup.
Yeah, it definitely supplements the income that I already get, and it also, to my surprise, allowed me to get closer to a lot of my fans. Like, a lot of people kind of silently watch, but once you get on Patreon, you have this intimate relationship where they're commenting and encouraging you. And when I've had my slumps, I'll share it on there, and they'll be like, "It's okay, you can do it." So the encouragement you get from being closer to your fandom is priceless.
From a patron end, I don't have a Patreon, but I actually have a budget that I'm allowed to kind of shove at their directions, and so I am actually attached to each of you at least once, because you guys got that $1 tier that I can afford that.
Yes, thank
But
you.
it also helps you guys in the long run. So
Yeah,
it goes both ways. It goes both ways because we like to support each other in the process, even if we're still on that limited budget.
Right.
So don't be afraid of that.
Right, one of the reasons I wanted to do it is because I had a huge Facebook following, and I'm like, wow, I have thousands of people that like my stuff. If each one of those people paid me $1 a month, I could like get a car and do a lot more with my life. And it's tough because it doesn't always translate. And one of my big suggestions is have a fan base previously that you can sift over. And a lot of people are still going to think $1 is a lot. But some people go, you know what, I can't afford a personal commission from you. I want to support you. Here's something I can do. And then for me, I can be like, hey, here's a wallpaper every month of something I've been working on. And it's just for you. It's special. And it makes fans feel like they have a closer connection and friendship, like you were saying.
Would you say that you both had how large were your fan bases before you decided to do Patreon? Because I kind of have an opposite journey to that I'll talk about after you guys talk about it.
Well, could I say?
Yeah, sure.
Also, but the reason I started Patreon was because the internet is constantly changing. There's always new social media, new websites that we're all trying to get onto and see, and even the existing ones are constantly changing and pulling the rug out under you. And one of the things with the main ones, Instagram, Facebook lately, is that they have been focusing much more on, they're companies, so they also need to make money. And the way they do that is to monetize the creators, the people that are creating content. And as a result, though, because they are trying to make money, the way that they push posts and the way they have posts viewed by everyone, it forces us into a position where in order to get our content viewed, you also have to play in that game and you have to be in that mindset. Because if you just post something that is interesting but doesn't fit into this format, you don't get any views, you don't get seen, you don't reach the audience that you know actually wants to see this stuff. Because even when they're following you, they're not going to see it. So you have to actually fall into this pattern that they have set. And then you get seen. But when you do that, you're forced into this mode of seller. And I have disliked, I still get a lot of views through my Facebook and Instagram. I'm pretty successful with those still. But I don't like this mode where I'm constantly engaging with my followers only in this mode. I don't want to be in a seller mode. I want to be in an engaging mode where I can interact with them and have this relationship that I've had all this time, over these years. And even something like email mailing lists have become harder to reach people by because of spam. This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
Like spam has distorted for those of us who actually want to reach people with content that they actually want to see. So even with emails, people don't see things, and it's gotten to be such a struggle with all this stuff. And so one of the things I've found that I really love with Patreon is that I'm able to reach an audience that is opted in, that decides that they want to see my stuff, and they want to see all the interesting little bits, all the behind the scenes stuff, all the other random stuff that I want to talk about and share and show them and get feedback from and interact with them about. They get to see all that, and I don't have to be in a seller mode. Because everyone here, everyone in the Patreon they want to see this stuff. We all know it, and it's a clear-cut relationship that way. So it's interesting that with payment in place there, it's turned the Weiss relationship into something that is not about the payment then. It's turned it into something that is about the art and the creating and everything else that I enjoy about sharing my artwork with people.
Right. And formats like Facebook, they have started throttling the creators. So to do the boost post, so even the people that have already left your page and they are participating don't see your stuff unless you do a boost post.
Which then is going to be selling.
Right, and it's selling. And I've done one here or there, and it's actually gotten me patrons, which is pretty good. But it's, it's like $5 to get them to share it more for a few days. And then, that's another business thing that I have to keep track of. Also, now Facebook has my credit card, and I'm not crazy about that. So I agree that I don't like being in seller mode. I liked those venues because I could be like, hey, who knows the translation of this? And someone somewhere in the world would be like, I have it, like that. And I could post something and say, what do you think about this? But you're with Patreon, you're creating like teasers or walkthroughs of what you're doing or showing how you make what you make, and people are paying to see that, whereas Facebook, you're doing that and you're putting all that effort and you're spending hours and hours a day just like anyone else going to a 9-to-5 job, and people are going to expect me to pay for that. Well, it should be free on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So Patreon was an ability to have people who actually go, you know what, no, you should be paid for what you do, and be able to afford it. So, yeah, I think it's an amazing thing, and I think any creator should be doing it.
I'm curious in the audience here, are you mostly interested as potential creators or as backers of Patreon, or just interested in the concept in general?
I'd like to get paid.
I'd say
I can be mercenary about it. I'm
That's
here
not as professional.
to try and do it better.
Yeah.
I have a page.
definitely creator.
Yeah, and a big thing that is we were talking about last year is not to get overwhelmed by it, because it's a lot. It seems kind of scary. It's a lot of people promise a bunch and then you realize, oh, I have to do this either once a month or I have to do this per project, and it can be very overwhelming.
So that kind of goes into like my next point, and my phone just went away. All right, so
I'm really interested in hearing Angela talk about how she took the opposite way, like not having a fan base.
I'm really curious with that too, especially as somebody that
As a person with 0 fans.
Okay, yeah.
that is not true, and we learned that already.
Yeah, well, for me, that's where I'm at, right?
Right.
Because I back several, not very much. I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to do a little more for them. But I'm not an artist. I'm a writer, and it's I know this is not something you can answer, but my perspective is, what would I even be able to show the people that they would want to pay for? It feels presumptuous to me that anybody would think something I created was something that they would want to pay for.
Have you looked at other writers' Patreons?
Yeah, two of the people I back are authors.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of writers seem to use it more as a tip jar and
Yeah,
help me create
they're pretty
my
high
projects.
level,
Yeah.
so.
And there are a ton of writers on there that are doing well. And they share things like audiobooks or like time lapses of them typing. There's
Even Simona stuff is like huge though, like just listening to people typing.
It's
Like a drunk writing session, see what happens? That would be, as a video, that would be actually.
Who have you been talking to?
I watched that.
I'm a writer too. I do it too. Well, I think you could do things like excerpts or, polls. Because I love that. I love polls like name this character. Here are my options, and then you get a vote on your, and then you have an interactive fan base that feels like they're a part of the creation of something, and they're most likely gonna buy it.
Wow.
So this
That's-
definitely pulls into my next section, so why don't we go back to the story,
the
and then we can
intro.
talk
Yes.
about, then we can
Into
talk
the
about the
story.
rewards and the goals and how Patreon
Well done,
works.
Angela.
Let me ramble for just 1 second.
Okay.
You can do creation journey. So I had sort of opposite creation journey on Patreon, which is probably why I'm somewhat the small fry of the Patreon pages over here. I started it back when Patreon first started, and I was just like, I'm a multi-style artist, so I do anime, I do art nouveau, I do dark art, I did all of these things, and I was like, what the heck, I'll just dive in. And what made that difficult is that since I do so many different things, what will people expect to see? One person who likes my chibi stuff might not like my art nouveau stuff. So I think it's good to have like some kind of continuity you can present with your idea. And I think that will help people expect what you're producing on Patreon and sort of get behind your idea. And that's why over the years, my Patreon is all thematic now. It is all the Birthstone series I'm working on, but it did not start out that way. So when I moved to a single theme and a single idea and a journey I could share that made sense other than, I drew a thing today, and my patronage went up a lot more. So consistency, and I think the advice to start when you have more of an audience is helpful. Like, yes, you can start as a tip jar, because it's nice to get, a few extra bucks a month to pay for like Facebook ads or, coffee or something like that. But if you start when you don't have a lot of a crowd, you will put a lot of energy into this and you may not feel like you're getting enough back from it. So you just have to gauge your own energy levels towards what you're creating on Patreon, how much time you're going to put into it. And on that same note, I know people who start out and they're just like, you know what, I want a Patreon, but I don't want to have to invest too much time. They do one tier, it says, pay what you want. And they share their works in progress when they have them, and they just keep it going like that. So you just have to keep those things in mind when you're starting, how much energy you want to put in, what kind of crowd you can convert over into it, if you have a big crowd or if you don't. But the biggest advantage I'll say to starting when you don't have a big crowd, because I'm not a super popular artist, but I have enough of a crowd to support a little patronage. And the advantage for me was that I could change and adapt my Patreon over time. So I learned what mistakes I made, and I improved it. I improved the experience as it went on. So, yeah, that was good. There we go. I'm done.
That's pretty valuable because, like, for me, I removed one of my tiers and actually have to scratch it off my business card. But because nobody was committed to it, but I was really worried about like, oh, I'm going to shift things around, but it was too much. And I realized, I was like, I need to pare this down, and I actually want to do that again. But I've got all these people now, and so the idea of being able to, rearrange it is actually really cool. And again, if you are starting with nobody, the people that sign on to you, they will feel like I was with her from the beginning. I've always known, I had people come up to me this year, they were like, I started following your page on Facebook when you first made it with the cards 5 years ago, and you listened to my advice on so-and-so, and I felt like I was part of the creation process, and like, I've known you so long, and we're friends, and so you have that nice journey along. And then I say, if you're starting a Patreon, is those people have started out paying you, instead of where it's like Facebook, and people are not.
I followed all of you from Facebook.
You knew it was when I was doing chibis.
I did. So. Okay, so the next talking point, well, just we've definitely touched on more, but like the rewards, the tiers, like I know you just said that you took one off. I'd like to know what you did and why. So, and that's a good start point. So there you go. So what are the rewards and tiers that you guys have, and not what worked and what don't work, or what haven't worked?
You guys go first on this.
So I I have,
I got
let's
your
see.
page pulled up too.
Okay, yeah, so,
Great.
so I have, 3 basic tiers, 3 main tiers. So my first one is the $1 tier, and that's where I try to post about, I have a minimum of once a month I post at the beginning of the month, and I usually do some long written post about some kind of insight into my experience as an artist, and what I've learned or troubles that I've worked through in my professional career, or just even sometimes behind the scenes of how I've crafted and created or gone down a road into a certain stylistic decision for some of my series of pieces. So I try to do this. I like writing, so my Patreon feed is there's a lot to read in it. So and I enjoy this. This is something that I've always enjoyed, because I did blogging for a long time. I did that for years, and that was something that was a large part of my website, and so it's something that I like doing. And that's something that she was saying, like, try to keep your Patreon to what you have, what you like to do, and what's part of your routines and what you create already, because if you don't do that, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So anyway, back to the tiers. That's my $1 tier, and I try to do like one long post like that per month. And then my next tier up is the $2 one, which is access to all the videos that I create. Because I wanted to keep this pretty low. I wanted to keep the threshold for that low so that more people could access it. Because my main goal with this was to be able to create these for as many people as possible. And so I have it set fairly low. It's the $2 tier, and that gives them 2 long videos that I create each month. I try to produce one at the beginning and one at the end of the month, on tutorials of some specific technique that I have. And I take lots of requests from people so they get involved in that as well and be part of the process. And so it's fun because people make suggestions, and then I might take their random suggestion and do it that month. And so I've done things like pearls, painting a pearl in watercolor, or doing an explosion, and what else have I done? Jellyfish, yeah. So it's fun for me, and I get to do that, and so that's my $2 tier. And then the $5 tier then expands on that, and I start doing write-ups as well, and I go into creating some full breakdowns and walkthroughs of my painting, and explain it in typed up write-up about what I've done, as well as a few other things. I mean, there's a few other features in each of these tiers, but those are the main targets that I was trying to hit with each of them. And then the other 2 above that, then, so those were the main ones. The other 2 are mainly because I want to give people an option for supporting you if they want to just contribute. And there are people out there that do want to do that. They just want to see you make more art and to have the availability of resources to be able to do this. And you have to give them the opportunity for that, I think. And so that's mainly what these 2 tiers are for. So this $10 tier especially, and this is, what they get for this one is some, they get a wallpaper in addition to all the other stuff. And,
Yeah, that's the $2.
Oh yeah, and thank you credits, because that's actually, I think, a really big thing for people as well in all my videos. So I add that as well. And really that is what this tier is about. It's really about thanking them. And everyone else, actually. Everyone, I thank them all in all the videos, because they do make them possible. And then the final one is, again, for people that really want to contribute. And in addition, it's also because I have these little bees that I paint, and whenever I paint them, they're gone within about half an hour when I release them. So I've had some long-term fans that have really been trying to get them and are frustrated because they couldn't. And so this was a way of allowing them to do that. So it's sort of a, what is it called? When you do a monthly breakdown of payments.
It's Sunday,
But it's like over 3 months of being in this tier, which then adds up to about the cost for one of my little paintings, and they get to have one of those. And as well, if they stick around afterwards, I kind of send them little presents every couple of months. And it's mainly just like a big thank you for being in that tier. And I've had some people that actually have stayed on past their 3 months. And it's fun, because I just send them whatever little random things that I'm currently working on. Like I was playing with resin and I was making these little test resin pieces where I was dropping alcohol inks into them, and they make these really cool formations inside the resin. It's about like that thick. And so I was sending each of these people one of these, as well as like a little sketch as well. So I'm really grateful that people decide to stick with that sometimes. So yeah, those are my tiers.
Stephanie, I noticed you have Discord included in your rewards. What do you use your Discord server for?
Rambling.
Awesome.
She's on there. Yeah, I set it up. I have very little experience with Discord, and so I was like, okay, let's push the button and see how this goes. And so I set it up, and I allowed all my tiers to join it, so anyone can hop in there.
Nice.
Well,
And it's
As a backer too, it adds more person, like, you know, you're talking and asking questions, personality, and getting the other people who are joining in Discord, like a big community, talking and answering questions. So even if she doesn't, or if she's a little later, everybody else is like jumping in.
yeah, I have a bunch of people who are really active there, and we geek out about watercolor pigments and succulents and
There's a bunch of succulent pictures right now.
and horse picture references sometimes. And
Oh,
all
yeah.
kinds of random things, and it's fun because it brings the community together and it brings everyone else in as well. That's one of the downsides of Patreon in general. I feel that if you just stick to the website, it's hard for your patrons to interact with each other. They mostly interact with you and then you respond to them. But Discord kind of opens that up to everyone interacting with each other and brings it more into a community type of setting. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it.
And Patreon's the only reason I'm even on Discord. Because it integrates, and that's really
Do you have one for yours as well?
I do. That's why I was curious to know how other artists are using their Discord, because I'm like compulsive about organizing, so I've got a channel for resources, channel for inspiration.
I don't have any channels.
Yeah, all the channels. I have all the channels.
Some people set it up as like weekly or monthly challenges or different things like that they can.
Yeah, mine's basically just a casual hangout.
It's really useful to hear how how users of Discord, patrons are utilizing Discord for us. So does anyone else have any experience with that too, or
For folks that don't know what Discord is,
Yeah, that is
I know
helpful.
that there are a
Thank
few
you.
people that probably don't know what Discord is.
What are they
It's
talking about?
it is both a
Discord is a really good chatting tool. It's like taking Skype and MSN and
So my only experience
Facebook
with Discord
like
is
Messengers.
Facebook
gaming.
messengers, and it's
Started
essentially
gaming
giving
thing.
you a channel like IRC, but you can see your different rooms and you can just jump back and forth. It tells you can
Sort of like forum based.
it is forum based, but it's a chat forum based.
boom, there we go.
Like, and the nice thing is you can lock a few of the rooms, so you're not safe for work versions. You've got which is
Yeah.
always one of my
There's
favorites.
some not safe for work
For
channels.
versions, you can do voice chat.
Yeah.
A lot of gaming guilds and things like that use this to be able to chat and talk with each other when they're playing World of Warcraft and things like that, which is I think where this Discord really started, was for gaming.
Yep.
And it's definitely evolved into role play chats and to like chatting with artists and writers. It's really useful for
friends
sharing.
list, like most I
Yeah, and your friend list and
Wi-Fi has one?
It does? I
I
didn't know that.
I always forget to check it.
Women in Fantastical.
Yeah, one has one.
I totally did not know that.
I'm terrible at keeping up with, well, just so everybody knows, all these symbols on the left, these are all the different servers I'm in and I barely check. And this is the top one is the Patreon server, so this is what I mean by like add a billion channels, so people can look at my sketches, or they can share their own sketches.
which I also love because we get to see how you've inspired other people,
Mhm.
and
It's
then
fun.
and also being able to share. You're like, hey, look it, I did this cool thing in there.
Yep.
So
And you
it's
can kind of lock each one so only you can post in it. So if you just want to do announcements of shows, so like have a newsletter thing, if you're getting lost in newsletters, you can just announce that you're going to a show or the gallery or whatever, and nobody else can really post on that.
Yes,
So-
and you can lock it towards different levels too, so
Yeah.
if you have different people who are supporting you at different tiers, they can have access to their own private channels within your server, or if you have a student tier, you can have a student-only chat or critique room or that kind of thing. So like it's very flexible, like have a channel just for sharing. People would be like, hey, I found a good tutorial, and we share that there. And it's really, really awesome. It's a great way to share information and get the community involved.
I found, for me, Patreon's been very quiet. I'm used to, like, my Facebook community where they're always chatting and talking. And
Oh, do you want a
I have so
Facebook
much-
group of yours then?
Huh?
Yeah, a Facebook group of yours then? Or
Discord. I don't know.
No.
no, so I'm saying, do you have a Facebook group attached to your Patreon?
No, so I kind of moved people over from Patreon, and it's very quiet. It's still all the same people, but it's very quiet. I get like a comment here and there, whereas on Facebook it's like 200 comments. It's like, that's pretty average, you know, or likes or reactions, and then Patreon's so quiet.
I think because most people they view the Patreon posts in their email, and they don't bother to click. You have to click through the email over to the site, or if you read it there, then you can see the comments and join in the communication there. And that's why I feel like there's a lot of just patron to creator communication that happens versus instead of this interactive
And I like
between other people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because of the way it's set up, and because most people, unless they have something to say to the creator, they don't even bother to click through and check onto the site. But that's why the Discord is nice, because it adds that level.
Integration is so great.
Well, I'll go through since we're on it right now, real quick. My $1 is just, I do a thank you art every once in a while when I get the chance. I have a little cartoon that I do with that, with me and my cat, and so like one of them, I've got her face really close to the screen and she's blocking, and I'm trying to like thank my patrons around her. Because she does that when I do like video chats, she gets right in the video thing. They can't see me because there's cats. And a lot of people said, well, it's really funny and it's really quirky, so you should incorporate that. So that's one of the thank you things I do. And I do a lot of the same kind of teasers that I do on Facebook, except they're higher quality and they're not as cropped, which is nice, and do polls, which I like getting feedback. I love the conversation that happens, and there are a lot of times I don't remember stuff or I can't decide. I do 3 different backgrounds and I like them all. And one of them has to be chosen, so I'll put them up and be like, hey, what do you guys think? And then go with that. And my second tier, I have a bunch of tiers, is the $3 pack. And that one I do is a wallpaper, and that's often something I'm currently working on. So the teasers and the wallpaper and the polls is all stuff that I would be doing anyway, and it's not hard on me to create. It's just the only thing that takes time is a little bit of advertising, and doing like $3 wallpaper now available at 19 by 20 and 1080, and I post stuff on Patreon before I post anywhere else, and I also post extra stuff on Patreon. So sometimes that's the $3 pack. My other one is I have a $5, $10, a $15, and $25, and the $150. So the $5, I do a lot of progression shots and whips, and because I'm doing digital art, I can screenshot it and create progressions of here's where I'm at right now, where stuff's unfinished, and sometimes I'll post references, and you guys can see, like, here's this arm that I'm looking at from a photo, or like I was doing the Morden piece, and that's something I'll post when I get home, is I did, like whips of while I was going through it, and I didn't like his chin, and I was trying to make it bigger, and I was like, oh, I'll use a photo, and I looked at Henry Cavill's chin, and I thought I'll attach Henry Cavill's chin and see how that looks, and then I'll go from there. It looked really ridiculous. I laughed for about 20 minutes. And then when I looked back at my computer, it was still there, and so I fell over laughing again. So I'll probably share that with you guys on the patrons. The $10 pack, I remember this, I'm like reading it, it's like,
That's why I pulled it up.
so I get access to stuff that I'm allowed to share, like contract work that I can't share anywhere else. I do image progression tutorials, and those I can make while I'm doing stuff. And the only problem with this many tiers, or with having Patreon or Facebook stuff, is you have to take the time as the artist to also be the advertiser and make all this stuff. And for the tutorials, I have to write what's happening in each one, and remember that I can't go too fast or skip a bunch of steps, because to me it's inherent, but somebody might go, wait, I went from starting to paint hair and now it's done, it's magic, what was the in between? So, you know, we have to take time. And I give them half of my brushes, my digital brushes, so they can go and download what I use. And then the next pack, I think it's the $15 one, has the rest of my brushes, and then I also give like reference photos because I do a lot of photography as well. And I like giving people who want to do art and check out my stuff the opportunity to have the same tools that I have. And I create a lot of brushes. Like the Demander in the gallery, his coin armor is a coin brush that I created. So I can literally go, ooh, 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 and there's coins that get layered like scales. And then I do the thank yous, which I think is also really cool. And as I start to do video work, I will also probably be doing my stuff pretty soon. These panels are great because we can also learn from each other and pick up stuff.
And as a backer, I wanted to mention, Ariel, you talked about the process. That's one thing that I get so tickled about at these panels, you know, like Stephanie's demo and the Burgess and the art jam, is seeing that progression, seeing it go from nothing to the finished piece. All the in-between stuff it's awesome. It's the
And I love
best
sharing that.
part of it.
I'm the kind of person that wants to know the behind the scenes stuff and
Yeah.
you know, how was something created, and so that's really fun for me. And the $25 one, I also do you have all my brush packs, and for Patreon the nice thing is, let's say you have a $10 one, you get all the rewards below that too. So you get the 1 and the 3 and the 10, the 5, and under that. So the nice thing is for people in the 25, they're up high enough where they get most of my Patreon levels. Yeah.
What I found tricky with that though was then spacing out my posts in a way that made sense and didn't overwhelm any one tier, to make it evenly enough so that some tiers weren't just getting a whole bunch of stuff and so I have this whole elaborate chart where I have
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask about, like how you schedule it out.
that's
And also make it different enough.
yeah.
Because especially if you're doing
You don't want to reiterate
Right.
yourself across
Right.
the tiers because they're getting everything else below them.
Right, and if you're doing like, oh, here's a walkthrough of what I'm doing, and they'll get to see that. So if you don't post something that's vastly different on the higher level, they don't really feel that special. And so the $25 one, I also do a sketch or requested sketch for them. Usually it's like, hey, draw me. I'm like, okay, it'll take me like 5 minutes. So I do those, and I'll thank people. And now I've added video tutorials. So while I'm painting, I can have a screen capture program running, and that will record. And then I can either do a speed paint, which I love. Those are fun to do. I have an Indiana Jones one on there right now of me painting Indiana Jones, and it's beginning to end on that. And then I can go over it and add in a dialogue over top, and that's fun. So there used to be a $50 one. Oh, there is still.
It's still there.
It's going to be gone. But I'm probably gonna. No, it was something else. I do like live Q&A sessions and stuff, and I was thinking about kind of folding that one into another rewards pack because I really like the community thing. And this one you can also do with Patreon. You can mail people stuff, like she was saying. And this one is one of the ones where I would be giving somebody a piece of art a year. And then I think the final one is the YouTube tutoring. And that was pretty good. So I would meet with them once a month, and we would have a lesson plan, and we'd go over it, and I'd give them homework, and they would come back to me at the end of the month or ask me questions throughout the month about stuff, and we'd go over that and see their progression and them getting better. And that was real fun. And then they also get prints. So it's a full-time job. It's a lot of work, and a lot of people say you just. At least I get this sometimes on Facebook. You're just doing pretty pictures and stuff like that. It's not. It's more than a 9-to-5 job. I'm working all the time. I go through weekends. I have to remember to walk away and go out to dinner with somebody. Do something else because Patreon can be very quickly overwhelming, and you can end up over-promising. So definitely, what you're already going to do or what you're interested in doing. And I try to put stuff in there for me that I felt like would push me to be better, and would help me grow. And stuff so it's kind of making me get out of my shell a little. And that was to me like, it's an opportunity to do that and to give back directly to the community and message people. And, you know, I try not to pay too much during the billing period if somebody misses. But if I see that, if I can see their name, well, their card was declined, I'll write to the person and say, hey, I hope everything's okay, you know, what's going on. A lot of times they're like, I forgot to update my card, thank you. And I go, no problem. So it's neat to have like a feedback through the community.
Well, what were some, we still have a little bit more time
Miss Angela again.
on this topic.
Miss Angela
So
again.
we can talk on here. So I'm just curious, I mean, you guys have obviously gone through the process of finding all that.
Hold on, Angela.
I'll be quick though.
Oh,
I'll be
okay.
quick, 'cause I know that
All right,
All right, so quick. Don't overwhelm yourself. When I first started with the ladies of the months with the Art Nouveau tutorials, I was like, I'll do a narrated voiced over video each month and it'll be amazing.
Yeah,
Don't do
like
that.
this.
So now what I've done instead is I did create a voiced over tutorial for people, but I made like a library of videos. So if you pledge to like $10 to my Patreon, you get access to my tutorial library that normally people would pay per video for. So that's one way I've tried to save time, because video editing is rough. So for me, $1 is wallpapers, a discount coupon for my online shop, and I push something I call the secret sketchbook because I'm an obsessive note taker and researcher, and I love to blog as well. So I turned my blogging into a secret sketchbook where people can look at my thumbnails, look at all the folklore research I do for my birthstones, and that's all the Patreon-only stuff. As well as fans will get to provide feedback in polls, which is really valuable for us as artists, because what if you want to make a new product line? You can gauge interest, you can gauge choices in your new product line, all within your patron base, because they represent the people who are willing to invest in you.
And sometimes you come up with an idea and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great, people are gonna love it, people don't buy it.
Yeah.
So it's good to get a good crowd reaction.
But, so yeah, I keep myself sane by offering access to things. So access also at $5 will get you access to my coloring page database, where you can get basically all the coloring pages that I offer. And that is called the digital collector tier. And when I do digital, I'll also offer the PSD file for people who like to study how paint layers in Photoshop.
And you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, well, I scale them down so they're not exactly high res, but the structure of the layers is still intact, so that prevents people being able to produce prints of them. So it's I don't give a super high res, but like a decent res file.
I've seen PSDs as a reward gift. It was something I was very unsure, because I've had, as you recently went through a lot of that.
Oh yeah, and that's something I wanted to mention later on too, some of the pitfalls of Patreon and security issues that they have. But definitely, before we scare you off from it, some of the fun stuff. All right, so yeah, so discount coupons at various tiers, and videos at various tiers. And right now I'm also giving one-time thank you gifts of like a little postcard and a magnet for your fridge. And I try to keep that at one time, so the first time I pledge, people will get that little gift. And
Or
physical
pins.
rewards are difficult. Or pins.
Or
I
that's
pins.
about physical rewards too.
Yeah, like what I do is I have a cycle, like at the beginning of every month I see who's new, and I mail it out all at once, so I'm not like going crazy trying to see who's new. And I'm also a per month user, so that means people only charge once per month. They can always expect that to happen on the first. It's not charged throughout, like randomly I'll put a painting up and then they're charged. It's like consistent.
Which I liked that a lot more than the other option.
Me too, and it's also more secure. And up at the higher level tiers, like 20 and up, that's when people get like an art subscription box. So if they're like super fans and they want to get some of the cute things I have, like prints or enamel pins, or any of the things in my Redbubble shop, I can put together a little box of product for them and I send it out. So that's a new thing I'm trying, so we'll see how that works out. And I offer like little originals at $35. So I'm trying out higher tiers to see how they are, see how people like them.
They're nice because they do jump up things and they do help a lot. The problem is, like I was saying earlier, it's scary when they go away.
Yeah, the higher, that is the only thing that scared me too, is like, I have one person who's $95. My total patronage is only 218, so if she goes away, that's a problem for me, so I have to have a backup plan for that. So if you're small and you get high tiers, you have to have a backup plan. So yeah, I won't go through each and every reward tier, but you can check it out on Patreon at /Sasser, since we got to go on to other topics. But yeah, just a mix of digital items. I think digital items will help keep my sanity and will save you time if you can think of ways to disseminate digital rewards to people.
Yeah, physical rewards are hard to, their thing is just not set up to make it easy. Although I went to their headquarters, because they're in San Francisco, and they had this, they just had a thing for any creators that wanted to come and talk to them and learn about some stuff that they're working on. And that is something that they have scheduled for this year, is to add more physical reward fulfillment, ease of use stuff.
That'd be so.
Which I am really excited for, because it is a pain to do right now. It's really hard.
Yeah.
We should talk about the security thing as well.
Yeah,
Thinking
definitely.
about that.
And I want to say, if you are thinking about digital reward options, I use Gumroad for a lot of the videos, and Gumroad is where you can store basically any size file online for people and send them a link to it via their messages. But it's a great way to store it if you don't have access to your own web space, because video files can get big. And then if you're downloading from your own server, you have to have the bandwidth for that. So Gumroad is a good free option.
I'm curious why you don't use YouTube.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, but Gumroad is for when people want the actual download, because YouTube will not let you download a direct file. It only lets you stream it.
You can tip too, or you can set a price point, so if it's outside of this and they just want the video and not like all the extra things, then they can just pay for it.
Yeah, Gumroad is just really versatile, and I recommend
Yeah.
people just check it out and see what options they offer.
We're starting to run low on time, so
Oh,
we're gonna
yeah,
go to the
go
next
ahead.
one, because I feel that this one is really, really important, because you can have as much as you want on those pages, but how do you market it? How do you get that out there?
I just said the same thing. I market anything else. I try to do it as like, if you like my work, then you are supporting me by doing this. And it's equal to, is buying a cup of coffee a day is the same thing as supporting an artist and getting all these amazing things. And that's kind of what I just go on about. I don't know if you guys do different.
I try to do, so because I'm so video focused, I try to do, every time I make a video, I also make a little 1-minute clip video of the longer thing. So the longer thing will be anywhere from 5 to 45 minutes. I've had some, and I'll just make a little 1-minute clip as a little preview version of it, and then that one I can disseminate across my various social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these places, and then say, if you want to see more of this. And actually, in a lot of places like Instagram, people's attention span is short. They don't want to see more than a minute. So it's actually good even by itself, not just as advertisement. But I'll use that to say, if you do want to see more, if you want to see stuff like this, then come and check out the Patreon. And also, I'll just add every once in a while on posts in Instagram. I won't do this on Facebook, because if you use the word Patreon, no one's going to see anything at all, because Facebook just smushes it. But on Instagram and Twitter, I'll just put at the bottom, it'll just be a picture, a post picture that I've done, and at the bottom I'll just add my Patreon link, just so that people know it's there. It's just to have the awareness of it. If they don't know it exists, they can't go to it.
Talk about it often, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't even have to say, I don't have to push it. It's not like, come visit my Patreon. No, it's just the link there. It's just there at the bottom in case someone wants to take a look. And so I do that.
Links get throttled, don't ever put the link
Don't do it on
in
Facebook,
any
yeah.
post. Put it in the comments.
They actually have a tool on Facebook that's an ad overlay checker, where you can upload your image with the text on it, and it'll tell you whether it's too much or not. So you can have a certain percentage of text, but it just can't be a lot. So like on mine, I can put the Patreon logo and my URL, and it passes the check. But it can't be huge and all, too big. It has to be small.
You just don't want to repeat yourself a lot, but I think the thing that we're really, for me, that really works is just to push that it is exclusive and it's a special community who get access to the behind the doors stuff and they get extra things. And but I try not to repeat myself as much as I can, and I'll share little bits. And it's tough because I definitely got a backlash at first. I got a lot of people that were angry that I was asking for money for some of the things that I used to share on Facebook, but it wasn't. I mean, they were higher res and less cropped and less watermarked, and but I did definitely get a backlash of people going like, "You want money for this now? Like, look how big you've gotten." And that is a quote.
The way I've done it is I've shared clips like Stephanie was talking about, short clips of videos to kind of entice people to go with it, but also sharing like a work in progress of a painting, like thumbnails, and saying you can read my creative notes about this painting over on Patreon. So try to double dip, but still show progress for people who don't want to pay, but say there's more details that you can read about things over on Patreon.
Yeah, like Instagram, I'll get a lot closer and do like a part of it and say if you want to see more, it's on Patreon, and I'll do like a filter, so the unfiltered version, on Patreon where it's, higher res. And sometimes people just can't do it.
And oh my gosh, did people love the enamel pen drive I did?
Oh,
I want
yes,
to people are just like, enamel pens, oh my god.
Enamel pens are
It's
cool.
I signed up on Patreon because of that. and then it got worse or better.
Yeah, that pen drive is like a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are actually at the 9-minute mark. So why don't we quickly touch base on the security and then we'll do questions and answers. So.
Yeah. So Angela and I both ran into the same thing. The problem with the monthly thing that Patreon does is when somebody signs up in the middle of the month, they don't pay yet.
It was the per user,
Right.
or the per creation. It wasn't the monthly, it was the per creation.
But they have access to everything, so they can sign up, steal everything, and then leave and never pay you.
Because their pledges come through later on. When they do it in the middle of the month, or before you put up your creation that triggers the pledge processing, they basically get access to all your posts. They take the URL and put it into a website that steals your entire feed and any attachments. So that's been the danger of Patreon not plugging that security hole yet with per creation users.
Yeah.
So that's a warning if you only plan to do per creation, you got to be aware that opens you up to this loophole that I don't think they've really fixed yet.
No, they're working on it from what I know. But it's not, I mean, that is per creation, but I have run into people that sign up and haven't paid, and they can take everything.
Really?
And they save it, they don't create a full copy.
Oh, so like
But
the
they
people are
say-
putting the work in, going through, they actually pay you money and then steal it.
Yes.
Because the way the other place is working, that they have fake credit cards that they're eventually shown to be fraudulent.
Yeah,
but they
it gets
are-
declined.
Yeah,
What happens, they sign up, it gets declined at the first of the month, but in the meantime, they go and they rip everything that they have access to, and then they leave.
and it's hard to deter those people because they actually are legally paying for things first and then stealing it.
Yeah, but they're not actually paying us.
Oh, it doesn't go through? It
Declines.
Oh,
It declines at the end of the month. And so I try to look, if it's got a funny name, you can block them. Please, if you're gonna sign up for Patreon, just use your name. Use something that doesn't sound sketchy, because some people do, and they can use their D&D name or whatever. But to me, I don't know if you're a person. I don't know if you're not a bot or somebody that's just there to take, my newest Lanfear or something and get an HD version and print it off a bunch. And so,
yeah, the biggest signs for me, just adding on to that, the biggest signs that someone was fake was that they had just joined today.
Yes.
They've been your patron for 2 hours,
Yeah.
and they have no history, they have no social media accounts linked up to it, and it's just really...
they have no other patients that they back. And the problem is we have to take the time right now to vet this. And so we're creating and we're making sure we're not getting stolen from, and we're making all the advertisements, and we're doing the videos, and we're doing the accounting because that matters too. And it's a lot of work.
It's unfortunate that we have those people, because I know there are a lot of people who join my Patreon, and they are real people and real fans. I know them, and it is their first experience with Patreon, and because it's a growing platform, it's a new thing. So you want those new people, you
Right.
want them coming into Patreon, so it's.
Yeah.
And you don't want to scare them
Yeah,
off.
don't block everyone, just like be wary that there's some security issues with procreation accounts.
Yeah.
But
So, just as a quick thing, like if you're a fan of somebody, it's really good that you keep an eye out for them as well, because we are a community. We're in this together, and we're doing it together. So if you see somebody stealing something, it's good to say. And I know my community has been fantastic. I had a company recently steal one of my pieces. They cut the head off and they put it on another thing and they printed it on a t-shirt. And my community ripped them apart in seconds flat. And I felt so touched that they would do that. And it's so much that the community had the t-shirt thing had to like shut down their page. So I was like, yes.
Yeah, that's
Bye,
almost
bye.
Sloan in defense right there.
Yeah.
I will say for me, what helped my page become more secure, because I was getting constant fake pledges. What I had to do was I contacted the support staff and asked to be added to the charge up front beta, which is a feature where if a patron pledges to you, they are charged immediately instead of waiting to your next pledge cycle.
Which is how it should be.
The only drawback is they will not let you go back to procreation. You are stuck in charge up front. So other things to be.
But I don't see why charge up front shouldn't be the standard.
Yeah.
Because when I buy, like I would say, I buy a print from.
Well, I guess the issue with the charge up front is that, so say someone joins on the 30th of a month, they get charged for that month,
Yeah.
and then next month starts on the 1st, and they get charged again, and so it's a double charge, and people got angry with that.
Yeah, and I do understand that. To me, though, the reason it made sense was if you go to a store and you buy something, you have to give them money immediately to buy something and leave the store. So if you're
I'll come back Friday.
right. Yeah, you'll get it between the 1st and the 6th of the month. Totally.
I think they just haven't figured out how to program procreation to work that way yet, because it's triggered only when you do a creation. So
But don't let this stuff like scare you, because it's new and it's a work in progress. It's really amazing. There's a lot of amazing people on it, and there's a lot of amazing people on it, and it's something that's really cool, and it's really cool as a creator. And for me, for the first time in a long time, it's created a consistent income.
So we're at the 4-minute mark.
okay.
Questions from the audience? I want to make sure we have.
It's been very interactive. I don't know if you guys,
Very informative. So, did anybody have questions or would like some insight on how you might want to improve if you wanted to do this, or how do you get started?
I do have a question, and I'm not in this from the beginning. Is there any tools that you guys use to manage all of your social media accounts?
I use Hootsuite, which you can attach up to, I think, 3, and it's free. But if you want to attach more social media outlets to it, you have to pay. And I think it's like, numbers $95 a year. But I like it because it's visual. What you do is you have a drop-down list of all your social media accounts, and just you pick them and make your posts, and you can customize the message to each one and attach images. And I use it a lot because, like I said, I'm a multi-style artist, so I have different brands. I'm also an artist in crafts in addition to painting, so it's like I need something that lets me separate. So Hootsuite's good. There's Buffer, which is another one that has like a free tier if you want to connect to a free. And there's also
If this, then
thank
that.
you. If this, then that, or IFF.
Yeah.
IFF.
Yeah.
like,
Wait, what is it?
Yeah, and that one you can plug in little formulas, like if something goes up on Tumblr, it posts to Instagram, and that one's free. It's just, it won't let you have multiple, you have to have multiple accounts on there if you have different blogs. Like Tumblr, I run a couple of different blogs too, so, yeah. Sorry, that's a lot of information.
No apologies about it. Any other questions? Great, so 1 minute left. Any final comments, remarks?
Just do it!
Don't be afraid to create things, because even whether you create or you want to support the creators, it's worthwhile going through and finding the people that you love their work, or you're good friends with them and you want to be able to support them. And like even those little bits go a long way, because it's a consistent thing. I mean, $12 a year, I can do that sort of thing.
Right. My mom's a patron. She's like, I wanna give back.
Mhm.
It's a little way that I can, and not be like, oh, I'm burdening my mother.
Even $1 just makes such a big difference in
Yeah.
our lives.
Really, have a low tier. It's very important. I see a lot of people, it's like $25 a month. It's like,
You'll never get those little people.
have the dollar tier is so important. Because you think that
It's mostly about the community and getting
Right.
people involved and making them a part of your little art family.
Right.
So I know some people have been moving up to the $2 tier as their minimum tier. Do you prefer doing the $1 tier or the $2 tier? Because a lot of creators I've seen have bumped it up to $2.
You know, I assume people started doing that because of the whole fee kerfuffle, where Patreon was like, we're gonna add an extra fee, so artists will always get $1, but then that meant people who had to change their budgets because a lot of their micro transactions were adding up to be beyond their current budget. This was like 50 cents on top of the $1. But
They removed it.
they removed it.
It was like a day.
It was like 2
They
days.
did it,
And like,
and
sorry.
They did it, and then they were immediately, I got an email, it was, we're so sorry.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
when you go up to $2, it helps you offset any of those transaction fees that do occur. 'Cause Patreon does take y'all remember the percentage?
It's a large chunk of it,
Numbers.
but
It's a little percentage, and then it gets like,
Yeah.
bigger as you go.
We're just gonna offsets.
So we're officially at 2:00. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, panelists, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
It's still not-
I have a little bookmark with my Patreon if anyone's interested.